Welcome to another 5-minute review. Today's book is Behind the Veil by E.J. Dawson. Why can't I say that? E.J. Dawson, right. I was offered a copy of this book as part of the Blackthorn Book Tours tour, and I was asked to give an honest review, and this is that review. So, continuing. Behind the Veil is a book about a medium. Her name is Letitia Hawking. She lives it's set in kind of 1920s Los Angeles, and her main job is to sit and watch the final moments of the deceased in her scrying bowl in order to bring closure to sort of grief-ridden mourning families. She does this as a kind of penance, which is a very important part of her character, and at one point she meets this man, and his niece is experiencing night terrors and experiencing sort of psychic intervention, I guess, which is the same thing that Letitia herself experienced, and she decides to help him with that and get her help. And at the same time, she's being asked to search for missing girls by a man who lost his daughter, and then again as a couple more girls go missing. So you have these kind of two plots going against each other, and I thought this was an absolutely fascinating read. First of all, it's one of my favourite genres, which is sort of detective mystery with a spattering of the supernatural. So things like, I don't think I have videos on them, but on my blog I have reviews for A Name in the Dark, Catch Lily 2 and Mayday, which are all along the same vein. But the second thing that I liked about this is that it goes against the main sort of typical character archetype that you would get in these novels. So all of the recommendations that I've just listed, they're all snarky, confident badasses, you know, that sort of character. Whereas Letitia Hawking is not that, which meant that this novel was approached from an entirely different angle, and it was incredibly interesting and also incredibly compelling to read. Third of all, it's set during the 1920s, which is one of my favourite time periods for supernatural stories. This was sort of the time where, you know, people were going to mediums, they were doing seances, scrying, all that sort of stuff, and I loved that. Letitia was definitely the highlight of the book for me. She's strong, confident in this really kind of understated way, and she really sticks to her morals. She's incredibly private, and she constructs a persona with which she can aid the grief-ridden relatives of the dearly departed, as I already explained. More than anything, she puts her own healing and mental health first, and initially refuses to relive murders, to investigate the disappearances of young girls, and she does this until it becomes personal for her. It's incredibly refreshing to read about a character like this. Normally female characters will put themselves second for everybody else, and that's just kind of accepted, but this was a really intriguing kind of breath of fresh air for me. She also treats her work as a penance for her past sort of sins, as she considers them, and in all she is this brilliantly well-rounded character who can be approached from different angles, and she was just incredible. I'm not a massive fan of romance subplots, especially when they feel inserted for the sake of having a romance. However, this book didn't do that. The romance was treated with delicacy, the relationship wasn't rushed, it was treated with the decorum and the hesitation that would be expected at the time, which made it feel completely natural. The settings were beautifully described and unique, and the secondary characters surrounding Letitia were absolutely fantastic. She just had this web of nice, well-rounded characters, except for the detective, who I wasn't keen on. No book is perfect. This is no exception. The main fault I found was the clarity of the plot. It got a bit confused. I wasn't entirely sure what it was, what the point of the story was, until about halfway through. And then at that point it kind of got a bit muddled and it went back and forth on itself, and some things didn't really make sense when it got to the end of it. But I persevered for the characters and the relationships, and if you like books like that are driven by the character, it's more than worth it. It's truly a thrilling read with all the decorum that a novel set in the 1920s deserves. It's filled with rich characters and the beautiful relationships that form between them. And it was just a stunning read, to be honest. Thank you very much to Blackthorn Book Tours for sending me this book. I'll leave links down below to my written review on my blog, where there'll be links to the other books that I mentioned. The link to the Amazon page for Behind the Veil, and also the Goodreads page for Behind the Veil. and my social media will be down in the description as well. If you like these kind of 5-minute reviews, I do a whole bunch of them. I have a big playlist. I will link it up above in the cards. Go and check them out. They're all quite short. If you like this video, give it a wee thumbs up, and if you really, really, really like this video, maybe consider subscribing. I'm trying to do at least one 5-minute review every fortnight. I've done 2 this week. This is my second one. Monday's review was the Cambodian Book of the Dead. I'll post a link up in the cards as well to that video if you want to give it a watch. And in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day, folks, and goodbye.